Hello, Connecticut campuses, Wethersfield campuses, especially differentially, as we'll discern, using science actually honest. When I was a kid, in the grammar school I went to, first through sixth grade, one of the sixth grade teachers, there were three teachers in each grade. One of the sixth grade teachers lived a street over from me, diagonally across from a family that answered police for the phones for the police through time. And there were three brothers. I don't think they had a sister. And those other two brothers, a David Smith and a Jamie Smith. I don't think I ever saw Jamie Smith, but one time off his yard, and I barely ever saw him on his yard. And David Smith, I basically had no conversation with David Smith in my life. Like I played with him one time in a dirt hole with water near a brook and stuff. One time we threw rocks at bees and they attacked us. And they made an exception when I was going to play. I was running over to go play again. We had just met David Bernstein, Alan Bernstein. And I forgot the other Bernstein's name. One of them stole my knife, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he came in my room first and then was gone. And then that was that day. I'd run over and I fell and I hit my knee, which still have a scar to this day. I had 21 stitches inside and out. You could see my bone because I fell. There's a brook near my house. Running over, I fell off the thing, goes down to it, the cliff, and it was a big hole to my bone. And then they pretended they didn't believe me. And I was walking, I had a thing. But they never saw me around. I never saw them on one campus one time in my life. See, such would be implied. Whether the same age, I don't know if they went to my school or private. I assume they went to my school because their father was the sixth grade teacher, though. But you see, so many things people. Now, what he did one time that was insidious. It was involved with a former Mayor Gold's daughter, also from another class. Also with executive police former Andrew O'Brien and Tim O'Brien and Dennis O'Brien and their father and mother, I don't know the name, involved with the intelligence community. He made sought me out to make confessions years ago too that became relevant after when they exploited it. They involved a Rick C.M. Faglione, who made confessions after he graduated high school. I had nothing to do with him. I explained how they tried to make a fake exception when I was a kid. It had something to do with the corners of the street of a since proven principal child abuser. There was also the daughter of the principal that was at that school when I went to it, Mr. Murphy, that was also a whole bunch of ways abused. It also has a whole bunch of ways, their roles with other countries, like Korea, and like people who went offensively out of their way with the Koreans to pretend to know me and then to lie about my behavior and their own and their motivations. Now, these are people that are attaching me and others to, increasingly at schools we go to. They have people walk by you and pretend they know you with complete strangers. It's people with UConn, Central Connecticut State University, Trinity College, taking the names of the colleges for their own personal uses, also used from off campus, though, by former director of the FBI in his defending capacities, and by judges in their coming to defending capacities, unless they want to follow mandated law. And they need to respond for this campus, because I caught them before with the principal child abuser, but they made up a whole bunch of lies. Because they have the kids and the family members and the neighbors of the people in charge with the kids through time, including the school board, involved with offensive data sequence reception, evidence reception racketeering, data reception racketeering, identity reception racketeering, and the value of that reception worse than racketeering. And that's self-value. That's why we're going to space too. Lethal IDs, forced space nature transfer. And I didn't read that, but it's more practical and more probable. Then the theories, also delusions, are also reliant upon criminally foreign influence, database relationships having been worse than untold, having blamed other things, others, ourselves for what that caused and what that is causing. The species body longs to help the people of New York like that. Every city like that. We open up endless locations, way more than the people that need New York to breathe. The suburbs, before our founding parents were even born, they were designed with slavery entrenched north and south. Both the South and the North fought against slavery, and they both lost. And not one of them, not one location, area in the state will allow discerned or spoke what's actually hyper-evidential, what's actually recorded. Because all those sick laws that control what everyone had to say, otherwise it was illegal. You know, you're going to count slavery, that's illegal. Bang! Witch trials. You don't leave, even if they were made up. Because when you have a witch trial, you have to ask not just what's it about if they're making it up, everyone. And look at the other simultaneous laws. Uses of color. Use the color black simultaneously, use every color. We sense and discern this naturally. This is what we all believe. Since founding, politicians have been telling us what to believe because sickly distinctly each branch of government has been the complete possession as a hyper predator, simultaneously pretending other as those laws originally instilled, propagated, being and having been done. Boxing is fun. So this guy, this Bernstein, the sixth grade teacher who made a few exceptions, we went into his class. So he wasn't my teacher. He told us to do it, to go home and put bread and try to get mold to grow on it. So I put the bread everywhere and I put water. I mean, he didn't warn us about dangers of it. Then, you know, I intuitively knew that. And then he had like no project, no talk about it. Just if we did the project or not. So I put it in the thing, but open. I think I might even have smelled it from far. And then he asked me where it was after he had already seen it. And then he got mad because it was open. He goes, oh, people could get hurt with that. And no conversation, and walked away. Only conversation I ever had with him. I don't know them just because they live next to me. His walking and having walked to that side, to the school of the since proven child abuser principal. Other principals had then and now their kids. Other people with the school board had their kids and their neighbors involved with predicate acts with the past. Sequence shifts, wire crimes involved in the same thing, mail crimes, various natures of drugs and medicines crimes. There are proofs that Scruff McGruff was involved with, recorded anyway, in actual legal cases, depositions leading up to legal cases, roles with all the formal identities of the law, with the worst patients and criminals, and against innocent people. All kept forcing everyone to hide the same sequence shift, final active progressive lies, illusions together, no, more and more. And delusion is juxtaposed, and pretending others simultaneously. So you see people, well, how do you like on Bravo Network? Bravo Network has roles. For example, there's nothing personal, Bravo Network. I asked you guys to follow mandated law. I asked Fox News to follow mandated law. I asked MSNBC, CNN. They're involved with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes that we know the FBI has had since its inception, relevant to what New York is actually manifest with and as a trap/S. We know that our species thinks other than they say. Now they control the platforms, and or they attach us to fake words. These are the sources too. The locations next to WFSB, the locations next to Fox Connecticut News, the location next to WTNH, and their advertisers, and the people that orchestrate the when they're going to time the ads and all that. All that is corrupt. Criminally foreign influence, simultaneously delusions raw, offensively lying about their motivations in defenses of themselves, after having been roles, needs, and natures used offensively to prevent mandated law while pretending to be for it. In traps too, where there is effective uses of juxtaposed natures of abuses of each age of fact-cheating nature, consciously maintaining roles with its self-value that are simultaneously conscious uses of where and how they're pretending to be against things they're for, where and how they're an increasing self-possession, I mean, increasingly self-value, self-possession by a breaching method. Oh, I didn't cause it. You don't have a lot, so it's not my fault. Oh, you have doctors of mental health who will speak as if they're a representative of white, a color, with physical delusions, with theories behind them that are recorded, used, also where and how there is worse than just help desk corruption. See, now the news people rely on other people to speak for them. They are, to an extent, they have to hide it, but it's recorded, conscious that they know they're playing together. Well, see no evil, hear no evil. I have faith in them. Oh, I have faith in oath. An oath. We all took oaths. Of course you took oaths. You have to, it's one of the things they use with their physical delusions and criminally foreign influence, fact-cheating nature, qualities, and aspects. People A through Z of countries A through Z. We're in a semi-ancient trap. Since before our founders were born, slavery was entrenched north and south. You don't leave that out of what caused slavery. You don't leave out how our founders left us to get the Constitution on a bridge and that wiped away. Not through the fake narrative. Leaving out how they didn't have free speech. They had to hide their actual roles by entertaining, using positive and negative treatments that couldn't defend themselves and afford and defend us and afford, or even afford the defenses of ourselves. Same way. Overtly. They had to do it sickly, overtly, sickly, distinctly against people with those crazy colonization laws. So we would not see then and now how sickly, non-distinctly. So you don't leave out the value of what is simultaneously recorded. You don't leave out the value of the slightest finite details. You don't leave out how the suburbs are tactically denatured, let alone New York City. You don't leave out how when people have Tribeca smile, oh, that's how we feel. This is positive aspect. Oh, that's New Yorkers. They don't speak for New York, just like the other boroughs don't. Sickly, distinctly victims. So when they speak for it anyway, it's increasingly tactical ulterior from the human science. Or they change it, or they attach you to fake words. And worse, there are styles of identity theft, fraud, slander methods, needs, and natures of logic and of motivations narratives that are recorded, effectively having been used to keep the motivations, for example, relevant to the breaching method. Obviously, that breaching method is what is actually recorded was rolls over the syntax of people, was rolls over their motivations, what they're going to say to each other, what they're going to do, how to treat each other. I don't care, if it's your family member, you're entertaining sick laws like that. Even if you did it sickly equally against everyone. See, but then everyone would have found out. Everyone would have followed what nature demonstrates to us increasingly, while it is increasingly how it is increasingly valued as nature/nature as value, and that's 3 volumes bound. You gathered round the order of the finite, the order of what is active, and the order of progressive, bound with 2 identities of sequence/simultaneous nature. Hyper-additionally, in demonstration of how we can only discern how it is hyper-generative of itself, the identity of hyper-simultaneous that began and that furthers all things. Note, with Earth having a special difference to where and how it is equally positive to all parts of space/existence, the identity that is actually hyper-simultaneously reported. But then it has a special difference. Only the extent of it is debatable. That is being presented to be known by us and to be cared for by us, and or that a special difference is forced from Earth as Earth's, where it is value as nature/nature as value. Forced from here, Leith of Hades. Leith of Hades. Leith. That's the best. That's a good rock band name. Leith. The Leith. Or Leith of Hades. I'm going to make a Little Rap Guy and Friends episode where they're singing a song by the Leith. Little Rap Guy and Friends are a hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise that began as an Little Rap Guy and Friends are an anti-hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise. They began as an anti-archetypal criminal enterprise, but it became corrupted while they simultaneously found out, or part of the anti-archetypal criminal enterprise found out, the black pupils, part of them found out. They really have to counter, humanity really has to counter a hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise syntactically and as identities, therefore as names. Countries A through Z are in a semi-ancient trap that cannot defend their identities syntactically and afford to discern properly where and how the ancients had actually left yin-yang and alpha and omega hyper-additional to themselves to be taught together as exceptions in exception nature that appear to be in demonstration of different things, but they're in demonstration of the same thing, while being about what exceptions in exception nature are about simultaneously. See, humanity and computers, they can't use exceptions the same way. Computers can't even use perception the same way as humanity. Now, when you hear people making passions and emotions, millions of locations and functions, and we could sense things, but you can't correlate things that are simultaneously physically. See, physics, metaphysics, and identity are bound, just like the order of the order of the finite, the order of the active, and the order of, we know we have a value effect on what is to be progressively valued. But see, now it is through systems tactical ulterior from that, syntactically speaking, as nature wanted us and needs us to understand the sophistication of that which is generation and complete possession over positive and negative, more so and more so great for greater reasons and more finite reasons than why and how computers work, and then why and as how they work. They work with identities and they work with value progressions. They're working with positive and negative. Even the parabola and things with physics, metaphysics, and with physics, trigonometry and geometry. The only reason that's so positive and that's common to them. The only reason they got away with over glorifying the means to measure and consciously, still denying it, but consciously, valuing where and how they have the maths, the sciences parted, time and positions at all locations. Oh, but we're directed to do that because this is the next step. This is the class, how it unfolds. Intercampuses, this is a certain type of victim-predator reaction. This preaching method knew a little kid has the means to discern the difference between criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments and positive treatments that are not criminal insidiousness nature. And so the little kids of New York City know when people say that America is free, that from here across the states, there are countless people who know that there are exceptions, exception nature being denied. So now increasingly they're needing to hide this because they're building upon where and how they exploited the knave. Victims for time reasons, knave reactions and then defenses of that. See, we have to pretend real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. They can't afford that interpreted with integrity and with care, with the ancients would use prayer for a scientific method related to the phenomenon of where an individual can only contemplate as an individual. We could contemplate as group, but it's a different nature of contemplation. And the species body, and the body of that which is the identity that is actually hyper-simultaneous. This has an identity of relationship to itself that is Earth's a special difference, where it is hyper positive to itself, or that is forced from here leaf of IDs. See, we're only automatically temporary positive, automatically. As forever nature, in diffusion, where and how more and more forever nature is being made, which is another thing simultaneously, only the extent of it is debatable, that the identity of the hyper-simultaneous is. Now it is also some things constantly as a forever nature, as a hyper-simultaneous nature, as the hyper-simultaneous nature that honest science reveals has an identity of relationship to itself that also has conjunction to our longing as it actually is. For example, again, humanity wants New York City out of it, admitted in the trap. The second we just admit it, they don't have to be out of it. They feel the reliefs surging through all things alone, not force. And while as a force. What is us each, but distinctly, but also non-distinctly, so we can discern this. The also only increasing value of itself with itself. equally. And how? We are exception nature. It's course by exception nature. Where how we are actually syntactically manifest. So we are supposed, the ancients revealed this about the subject. The subject is an identity of distinct from the predicate, but also non-distinct this way. The identity of the hyper-simultaneous is surging through all things. Boxings. The sciences share an identity. The sciences also share and each the identity. So a nature of contemplation is by every individual is necessary to discern and to advance its identity of relationship to itself. That reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means out of nowhere, especially regarding where and how we are fact cheap in nature. Especially regarding where and how we are fact cheap in nature in a semi-ancient trap that's even easier to discern it. People dishonestly, as victim predators since they were kids, speak for, economics reasons why there are environmental problems, why there are wars. Since before founding, with slavery entrenched North America and South America, there was still complete remote possession, remote criminally foreign influenced uses of colonization itself, individually grouped and together. So they have theories. Excuse me. There were other science teachers I had, for example, and other teachers who all had conversations and weird things happen around me with people from off campuses who are also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with predicate acts, not just with police, but police and interbranch who were themselves involved with predicate acts before that and with that, and increasingly as their roles with uses of typing fake things into databases, of using wire crimes to replace what's actually recorded communications with the police over the phone, of using mail crimes too, other kinds of illusions, lying about their motivations too. Also, there are people with the name Olson. I never had anything to do with in my life. They tried to make an exception when I was a kid. I tried to test on Facebook one time. They tried to use it. They take away my Facebook page. I caught them various ways. Even interbranch Facebook pages involved with child abusers of juxtaposed natures since before they got caught, and with their doctors and patients and prison stewards of those predators, including a principal predator I caught before that was found. Now, they had some of the parents that in the past, lied to their girlfriends and families associated with spots next to the colleges, like next to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain. There's a Subby Bajerio who told a whole bunch of lies about me with people on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices, involved with child offenders from my area, involved with federal crimes with the families that are tied to, and as the ones with the who answer the phones for the Wethersfield police through time. The courts, their uses of their Facebook pages, their uses of their own police, and collusions with the retired and standing police forms associated with evidence retrieval through Facebook. Oh, this person's, we have to watch this person. Those narratives and those natures are used remotely. So these are people that have been, they find out a truth. They'll use it as a lie against you. And they spy on people too, through their own neighbors. And so, in other words, there's also a D. Simone family, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, I don't know them. They're involved with police forms. They went out of their way to pretend other when I was a little kid too, as one of the ones involved. And what they do too, they have with the O'Brien family would walk around the neighborhood and have conversations with people in the intelligence community, spread rumors and lies. And then vertically and horizontally, as roles with on-off campuses, they would do the same thing. And it has the roles, they had insights into their roles with locations next to Trinity College, next to Central Connecticut State University, that have been involved with remote uses of Wethersfield child campuses, of the fire campuses, intercities, not just Wethersfield, of the employments at the campuses, of their family members, including the resource officers, including all these ways they have roles with Stop and Shops. And since before it was Stop and Shops, when it was Food Mart, it was people involved with predicate acts on my street, times, identity theft, fraud, slanders, wire crime roles, mail crime roles, and as people interbranch recorded how kept needing to hide lies, also with areas of overt criminal enterprises, needing to hide sequence shifts with them, finite, active, progressive, identity theft, fraud, slanders, pretending passions and emotions for the breaching method, increasingly being demonstrated by nature's motivations, nature's needs and interests, having been their own, even though truly juxtaposed with other motivations, natures, because they're shown needs to hide and means to get away with hiding. They're actually recorded natures, the people who speak for the law, the nature of the law, and or for identity. So they have next to capitals, they have types of rights groups that connect with where and how they say, oh, the American people think this, the American people think that, and they put people into the platforms associated with people who answer the phones criminally, associated with the news places, with the Facebook pages criminally involved. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his defendant capacities, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, Robert Luskin, and his lawyer, Robert Chevalier, and his three of his co-defendants and other federal criminals with them since before that was caught. And during leading up to and in a 2006 district court part of the case /S that was ongoing at the time of my death. And since in other cases, they've been roles with, including with child offenders, including sexual ones, medical ones, further recorded, and through time, and how they use the groupthink. No groupthink having been expressed to us through the news. So hyperjournalism is using where and how WFSB has wire crimes with their phones, and with lawyers of their own lawyers and lawyers that advertise through Connecticut media. There's a Trantolo and Trantolo involved with various courts that have been fabricating evidences at locations, wire crimes, and wire crimes methods mixed, where they play stupid and attach people to fake words, change what they say, and further that way, roles also with complete strangers fabricating evidences with them. As police forms, some of them, and their families, and intimate ties, but also as ones recorded involved with areas of overt criminal enterprises, involved also with timed uses of corners of streets and of buildings with them, and of science classes. There were judges and prosecutors criminally and police forms criminally involved that abused a Gaetano Dinavelis, relevant to his roles on Route 3 now, Dinavelis restaurant on Route 3. I barely know the guy Dinavelis, and he was not one of the nicest kids. He was in my science class. See, they influence, and this is people involved with judges and prosecutors also aware of how Town Line Drive is involved with them with other countries, and then we're involved with them on and off campuses, coordinating identity theft, fraud, slanders, and behavior racketeering, worse than war crimes roles. So you have a bunch of people that do things like pretend they're adults to keep everyone stupid and fake and not positive, not the nature that brings evolution's fruits and gifts and means out of nowhere with our fact-cheaping nature, not the natures that make unity, that is anything but criminal insidiousness, not the natures that make independence, that is anything but criminal insidiousness, pretending other too. The breaching method perfected having you guys pretend to be able to speak for the law or positive or negative. You don't speak for positive or negative in nature without understanding criminal insidiousness. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police force, I'm not criminal. I'll delineate their delusions from their corrupt souls, from when they were kids, told to blame other things, others, ourselves, for what the breaching method causes, and keeps. And that is functional to the singular method, the singular predicate acts delivery system method, the singular criminal insidiousness delivery system method, as the increasing hyper additionally to that with that maintained by nature itself, identity of value of our identity of the grounds, identity of relation to itself. But where and how, now no longer through the natural system, not natural system, but as criminal insidiousness. So no matter if it's legalized or not, for example, nature is going to demonstrate if your legal system has criminal insidiousness entertained, Earth's a special difference, and as it's going to be wiped from here, lethal IDs. You will be increasingly a negative relationship to the identity of the hyper-simultaneous. Identity discerns relativity by discerning its relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. Everything is about the simultaneous because everything is about the hyper-simultaneous. That's why everything is that's why the exceptions in exception nature have sequence. Everything is a sequence / simultaneous nature. So no, for example, with slavery and with colonization, they would hurt everyone. And they say, that's reality. That's reality. But we know that's not reality. We know that's not the human volume science. So not just nature has to be understood, but nature's nature and the value of that as criminal insidiousness nature or not. And that takes contemplation. That doesn't leave out the smallest finite detail. So if you tell to me that you don't believe that almost every American wants to and has means like that, not even not hard at all. Make more spaces than we need. Make way better than would be fit if we did it through our systems. These are rat trap since before cars in the suburbs. Specifically, everything was designed to increasingly be able to, incapable of blaming other things other ourselves for the real causes of negative value nature progression acts. These are all locations, areas, and states. Negative value natures like criminal insidiousness nature, acts like predicate acts. Wrongdoers, natures like wrongdoers. A wrongdoer not only has fact, cheap nature and other acts, but is a nature relevant. See, that breaching method demonstrably knew that nature would generate demonstrations to each self and to others, that each self and others were our criminal insidiousness natures. This method offensively knew that we'd be manifest and able to discern this and needing to speak about it syntactically. Noting as identities. Noting as identities of value / value progression. again with the earth, a hyper additional aspect of ourselves, again being generated by that self we cannot be, but we can be, but one way. We have to be its way. We have to be it the way we are manifest, but we also have to be its way using its system or trying to. And if we deny that in ourselves, there's another word. You could deny it in other people. The breaching method denied it in other people, and they do bad things. And so they're still denying it in New York City, cities throughout America. That's why there are shootings. That is a maintained outcome. But it is maintained through our own, through other motivations, nature's needs, interests, where and how people who are replacing that which is actually recorded reality on campuses, not just substantially with the sciences. They're fabricating things into databases timed with that. So we have a certain kind of stupid that only was allowed to ever be known to be heard, so to speak. All Whisper Creek. So the New York, Little Rap Guy and friends have the entire cartoon value nature system is extorted, just like humanity, in a semi-ancient trap. Fake sciences and fake integrity of logic used to defend ourselves, and justifications of it. Fake perception integrity. These are uses of identity ground locations that the breaching method knew the suits and ties and the counters to it would be only capable of self-valuing, rolls with. The identity of sophistication as the hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise is more probable and practical. It is recorded as what is actually recorded. For example, effectively the breaching method used was a right to know that all locations, areas, and states everywhere the species body was and is, they would be incapable of countering the real causes of criminal insidiousness, things like that, like predicate acts methods at all locations, areas, and states, without blaming other things, others, or selves, and while doing that, needing to increasingly value that having been entrenched to extents that no one could, that everyone blamed other things, others, themselves. So they were increasingly incapable of defending the logic known and of us from what exploits that, but not as the other countries, but through them, while through our own. That's what's manifesting in Ukraine right now. That's what's manifesting in Russia right now. That's what's manifesting in America right now. For example, before these wars, they had rules for psychiatry and with psychology and with sociology and with the other sciences, even the movie sciences. Interstates involved with Central Connecticut State University and locations next to it. CNN, these are CNN sources on and off Paul Manafort Drive, involved with judges and prosecutors, switching names, forging names, predicate acts, planting evidences at locations, including their pretended motivations, which require the sequence shifts countered. These are people that interstates colluded on and off the World Trade Center, on and off the Ninth Circuit next to it, on and off buildings next to there the night before it and since, leading up to it from years ago, as people further involved with the intelligence community, with locations next to the Southstein Middle School, and with the Wethersfield post office, for example, that locations next to it. Old Town Cafe, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with people with predicate acts, coordinated on and off campuses with the intelligence community as one's criminally foreign influence, delusions raw, child abuse since they were kids, lied to. See, they were, and when they were adults, lied to by little kids, and that was used when they're later. These are people with a vertical and horizontal database racketeering method. And they forge names and switch names into branch. So the military will not, they're not carrying, oh, we don't tell on our own. You guys are criminally foreign influence, delusions raw. Make sure you fix the fake conversation you guys put. You have rules forging, switching names too. Put me in fake conversation with the principal. With the fake conversation with people. And you forge and switch names. You got child sex offenders and leaders of the kids involved with you. Get down! Make sure you get them up, man. Make sure I get them on paper with the interbranch. Fast. Let's go. You move. Because they have more problems with the guns, with the kids, and with the FBI. And other natures of sexually oriented things associated with Ian, too. There's also Ian Wills. I don't know if it's the same one. But that's also with the upskirt pictures further on and off campus is connected in uses of it, and his neighbors involved. Keep speaking through other people and then pretending that I'm the one being rude. I would never bring up other people. You guys force this. Everywhere I went, more people tied to this O'Brien clique in the game with the walking around. Oh, I hear this, you little fucking rap knob, fucking little girls. As men, fake. That's why you're wearing a dress when I come by there. Is that look just like Tim O'Brien? And he's confessed involved with that stuff anyway. With the Ray Cololo involved with them with wire crimes too, with the Wethersfield town offices, Afghanistan, Korea, Italy, all these fake punks with the doctors of psychology. You fake traitors to your country and the religious nutbags. Get fucking down, you disgusting pigs. Make sure they get on fucking paper and give me a response for that motherfucking campus. And don't make me fucking seek out the fucking and talk about those people on the school board because you fucking started it already and I have the right to. Now, get me the motherfucking response on paper. Excuse my language. Watch it. See, they make the kids start swearing and stuff like that because they teach them about positive and negative wrong as little criminal and serious in nature punks. So they don't know how to be anything but a punk. So then they control aggression that way too. You watch these motherfuckers, especially the ones with the prisons involved. You have these fucking people with the prisons involved with crimes with their prisoners and their fucking patients against innocent people and against those fucking victim predators only capable of being generated per what I caught them doing intercampuses and with the military. There are people with boxing gyms in Connecticut, a whole bunch of people from Wethersfield that have ties to military from Wethersfield as the ones criminally foreign influence on all the state judicial branch offices, on all the state prison offices involved with identity thefts, frauds, physical delusions, fake motherfuckers involved with confessions from other strangers tied to those complete strangers. So get these motherfuckers on paper too with the people on Park Street also and the other campuses and the Scalora family. Wethersfield police said confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed also your name Scaloras. You motherfuckers. You stop fucking pretending to know me, motherfucker. I never had a conversation with Claudia Scalora in my life too. She put fucking paint on my toothbrush. Sick bitch with forced, tricked her, persuaded with other extended relatives with her name. Also, DeMoros involved with them with all kinds of racketeering with judges and prosecutors in foreign countries and foreign and domestic medical families and areas of overt criminal enterprises and sexual circles also with their own family members and their roles with locations all along Route 3. With the intelligence community, like associated with this Paul Zano, who went out of his way to pretend to know me through time. This also recorded, and it has something to do with campuses. Central Connecticut State University, people with Rhode Island associated with and a Bryan College associated with Luigi. That there was a Guerrero name on the back of a shirt. Maybe he's a sports player. But in the advertisement of Middlesex Community College. They're also involved with the confessions of Wethersfield police over the phone of the name Cololo were involved with them. Also, when Eric Jensen recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed involved with state police, interstates, and former director of the FBI, other people that are involved who I never had classes with in middle school, never saw them around middle school, never saw them in grammar school, who pretend other when I was in middle school with people that work on the state judicial branch offices, etc. These are like identity theft fraud people. So these Eric Olson, Matt Olson, I don't know them in my life. I try to pretend other on Facebook because I knew sometimes I give them demeans to further with I call them furthering. In other words, the Olsen brothers are involved with predicate acts on Trinity College with the FBI, with state police, and with foreign and domestic military, including Afghanistan, involved with identity theft frauds on and off the state, where the police officers department is now and where it used to be, and with ones next to how they have now manifest police stations off campus and on campus, and uses of that involved. So they also have, everyone that interacts with them, criminally foreign info. They have the school board of Wethersfield being lied to and lying to because they had everyone speak through everyone in the past, and they film fake things when you walk by in those contacts. Then they can't be honest in the past. So they keep putting fake things about people stacked into databases, including interbranch, and with their Facebook pages needed to further lie progressions. Because there's a recorded path of people that go right back to houses on my street. And then years later, when they had to exploit that again with the illusions, they affected all these confessions from all these people I never had anything to do with their cliques and families, intercities time, as roles with the principal child abusers campus, with people in Wethersfield, with people in other campuses in Wethersfield. Further, there's an Emmett, who was also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have fake emails they've been doing. If someone catches them with bad things with the kids, they put fake emails. They hide how they made all these confessions by the principal child abuser over the phone on an answering machine. And then they put fake emails and pretended that with people. Now, these are people also involved with the Wethersfield town offices and with the community center through time. Also with psychologists, with the Domain family, also involved with various natures of abuses of little girls and of slanders of them and of boys, because that's how the little fake punks interbranch on and off Fox Connecticut News involved with predicate acts with them, on and off other news media involved with predicate acts, on and off campuses involved with them. So now you have some sick fake punks pretending to know me in the past with exception. They can't be honest now. And I recorded before I had a class with him, people involved with him, involved with predicate acts. And I found out about that years later. That's why they shouldn't have hid that from my parents. They did that with people involved with Local 230, who has been involved criminally with the campuses through time, also per their roles with other countries, and with overt criminal enterprises involved with uses of crimes at middle schools and that are connected between schools with private school kids and kids that aren't even in the same classes together, never even see each other around the school. But they're like, they make exceptions in your area, pretend to know you, and then they'll call you a liar. So you have the interbranch that pretend people are lying and say, "Oh, you're lying." They're leaving out the quality of fact sheet nature necessary to defend you, New York City, America. So they attach me and others who are in the context of New York City, right next to the World Trade Center, right before it, and in the Ninth Circuit, right before it, to more sequence shifts tied to proven afterwards had been post-dated documents from inside the court. They post-dated them to be presented to the panel of judges, post-dated from inside the court to appear late. That proven led to a 2006 district court part of a case, /S, in Connecticut that involves federal criminals from other cases who were involved with federal crimes on campuses I went to. And right before that, and so they were involved with threats and tortures and extortion of me, identity theft, frauds, also with their families and intimate ties, and with their lawyer, Robert Chevrolet. Again, this is former director of the FBI in his defendant capacities. So the judges and the prosecutors are also criminally involved. There's an officer, Hunter, or he's made that name because they switch and forge names. Involved also with families of Hartford courts and New Britain Superior Court and judges. Involved with predicate acts with them and with military police families. And, criminally foreign influence uses of police equipment and pretending conversations with pretending they had conversations with me about police equipment with doctors, the ones involved criminally with the military and with the FBI and with the other agencies and with the campuses fakes. Hey, Scott Ritter, please get me a response. Make sure you see Renaissance. Make sure I get the name of who disbelieves. I want them on paper now. I asked over the phone that Wethersfield police recorded themselves playing roles with the FBI and other agencies in overt criminal enterprises through time, replacing actually recorded audio and video with fabricated audio and video transcripts, spreading little lies and rumors with sick fake punks. And I'll show you how they use that with the group think, where how they abuse boys and girls sickly distinctly, and timed class placements. So they put a bunch of little fake creeps in my class, and it was a play kid that wouldn't knock the relative of. Even if he knocks me, then that's different. If they do it directly, do it from a background, Congressman Larson. I caught them from years before that. I hid that from you. So that's also involved with the on Route 3 with the judges and prosecutors and political families. Involved abuses of the Delaferro kid and the resource officers who are the ones now involved with this Subby Bajario and people on off Central Connecticut State University and New Britain and other campuses in Connecticut, like Trinity College and locations next to it, involved with identity theft frauds to time. And with sexual communities too, involved with crimes of the military. You guys are fake punks. Hey! Make sure you get on paper with them too. Not you, Mr. Ritter.